There's a YouTube content creator named Scap Attack. He's a moderately, I would say, size creator. He has like over 50,000 subscribers, around there, close to there, I would say. He gets plenty of views on his videos he puts out there. For the most part, I think a lot of his videos are pretty good. He makes some great content, but I don't agree with everything he says. And I think that's true with just about any other content creator. You're never going to agree with them 100%. Everyone has blind spots, including myself. I definitely have some blind spots. I'm sure some people would see that in my video, but I try my hardest to be objective as hard as I can. Anyways, I saw this video he made saying how Dwayne Wade willingly ruined his career. I decided to click on it. It was somewhat of an interesting video, but it really came down to him basically saying Wade got jealous of Kobe winning that fifth title and decided to tarnish his reputation, his legacy to create a super team. That Kobe was the reason, and he took the easy way out. He was implying, unlike Kobe, who won his rings honorably. That's really what he was trying to imply. I disagreed with that to some degree when he said that Kobe won his rings. He didn't say he won his rings honorably, but that's what he was implying. That's what he was implying when he threw that shade at Wade for having to create a super team after Kobe won that fifth title. Now, that got me thinking on another level about these super teams and how Kobe influenced the creation of these super teams. So I just want to take you back, way back to Kobe's career right after he got Shaq traded. Okay. I know some people are going to say he didn't get Shaq traded. Shaq is saying that it was a business decision, but he did get Shaq traded. It's all in the books. Shaq was jealous of him. He wanted to stay the man, but the Dr. Jerry Buss, Jim Buss, whatever you call him, I forget, his name is slipping out of my mind. Dr. Buss decided to side with Kobe over Shaq because Kobe was younger, Shaq was older, and got rid of him. Kobe basically threatened Dr. Buss he would not re-sign with the Lakers during the summer of '04 if he kept Shaq. So Buss got rid of Shaq, and the rest was history, as we know. Anyways, after that trade happened, Kobe was his typical arrogant self. He was supremely arrogant. He assumed that he was just going to easily dominate the league without Shaq. He was going to prove people wrong, and he was just going to take over. But that didn't necessarily happen. His first year with the Lakers, he struggled. He got hurt. They missed the playoffs. They were a lottery team. He got a lot of criticism back then for what he did in getting rid of Shaq. Also, he had the '04 Colorado scandal hanging around him just from the what had happened the previous year in Colorado. So he was dealing with a lot of hate from the media, and they criticized him. They called him selfish, just an egocentric player who only cares about himself, doesn't care about his teammates, not trying to make his teammates better in any single way. Essentially, it's all about him. So the next year, he gets Phil Jackson back, and the Lakers start somewhat win games. I don't say that they're a great team. They end up getting into the playoffs, I believe, as like the 7th seed or the 6th seed. They almost upset the Suns, but they're not able to do so at all. Steve Nash was able to beat Kobe, and I thought that was a fair series because Nash didn't have Amari for the series, so they were just even. So that goes 7. Kobe blows a 3-1 lead, and so it's tossed out. But it does affect Kobe, that series in '06, because he believes, I think he did lead the league in scoring that year. I'm pretty sure that Kobe believes because he led the league in scoring and he got to the Lakers to the playoffs that, hey, I'm the best player in the league. Look what I did. I'm the lead scorer and I got my team to the playoffs. And basically back then everyone was telling Kobe like, nah, you're not in the conversation. You're not. You're not Duncan. You're not Shaq. You're not even Dwayne Wade. You're not doing shit. You're not winning. We can't take you seriously. So this pisses off Kobe because he's shocked that his scoring doesn't mean that much because he essentially believed as a Jordan disciple that, hey, if I average 30 or more points per game, I'm going to suddenly become the best player in the league because Jordan was the best player in the league when he's averaging 30 or more. Kobe was that selfish and short-sighted. He didn't realize the impact winning has on your legacy and how you're perceived in most cases when it comes to the argument being the best in the league. Anyways, flash forward to 2007. The Lakers lose to the Suns again. This time, Amari Stoudemire's back and he's healthy. They lose in an uneventful 5-game series, unlike the year before. He's sent home early for the playoffs. He loses in round one. The Spurs end up winning the title that year in '07. Tim Duncan gets his 4th ring. I mentioned this because this was a big deal. Kobe had a big ego. And at that time in '07, Duncan was considered the best player in the league. I know some people argue, well, it was LeBron got to the finals. But no, Duncan really was considered the best player in the league. And you can say pretty much for the mid-2000s during that stretch from '03 to '07, he was pretty much considered the best in the league. Granted, the Spurs didn't win every year, but during that stretch, that was really when the Spurs won most of their titles. And Kobe cared deeply about this because Kobe knew his legacy was impacted by Duncan winning because Duncan had the ring count on him. He had 4 rings, Kobe only 3. Kobe cared deeply about passing Duncan in rings. He wanted to pass him in rings badly. I know he won't openly admit it, but all these guys are egocentric. They're egocentric. They do care about the rings. They do compare each other. And Kobe was upset. He went on a rant in the summer of '07, immediately after the Spurs won the title, bitching and whining about how it's unfair that he's Andrew Bynum and the Lakers wouldn't trade him for Jason Kidd, that they're fools, they're idiots. He was just going off left and right. He also wanted to get traded from the Lakers. He was bitter. He just wanted out. He wanted out badly, despite him creating the mess that he was in. He still wanted out of the Lakers organization. So he was complaining, he was whining, and the Lakers obviously didn't trade him. They just put up with it. The Lakers started to win some games that year. Things kind of looked better for them. Then Bynum got hurt. So as you know, the Lakers got a farce of a trade where they traded Kwame Brown and what would be later known as Marc Gasol to the Grizzlies. That was a rip-off trade because Kwame Brown was not on the level of Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol was a legit all-star, and you can say borderline superstar because a lot of people forget from 2004 to 2006, Gasol's Grizzlies had a better record than Kobe's Lakers. And consider this, both of them were the guy on their respective teams, but Gasol's Grizzlies had more success. Gasol even led the Grizzlies to a 50-win season back then during that time span, which was very impressive because the West was just super hardcore competitive. You would have years where I think even the 8th seed would win 50 games in the West. That's how hyper competitive it was. So to lead your team to 50 wins in the Western Conference back then was quite a big deal. And I think it probably still is today since the West is still competitive. But I felt the West was even more hyper competitive back then. So that shows you how great Gasol is. And I just want to mention that because people gloss over it and they act like Gasol was just some second tier player and he wasn't really that great, but he truly was. And then obviously the Lakers got that farce of that trade where they didn't even have to give up Lamar Odom. That allowed them to have a stacked team, knowing that Bynum would actually be back the next year. And Bynum had come into his own and became like a solid to above average center, just when you look at his numbers following the '07 season. I mean, the '08 season afterwards. Just so that catapulted Kobe's Lakers to success. They instantly went to a team winning around 57 to like 64 games a year with Gasol. Just it changed the whole entire dynamic, and they were the most stacked team in the league. I know some people will say they weren't a super team, but if they weren't, they were pretty damn close. They had Gasol, who was a legit all-star, top 3 big man in the league during that time period now, so that was huge. They also had Lamar Odom, who was a guy who had all-star talent but wasn't consistent, but he definitely had all-star talent. Just he was a double-double. And then you had Bynum, who would get you a near double-double. Nobody could match up with him. Nobody could match up with the Lakers at that time period. Just they were a terrible matchup with their size, and they were just stacked. And then they had very good role players like Trevor Ariza and Derek Fisher. And then the next year they replaced Trevor Ariza with Metta World Peace, who still was playing at a high level around that time. So they were stacked. They were a stacked team. They were probably the most stacked team in the league. I would say the most stacked team in the league around that time period, along with the Boston Celtics, who created their own super team. So I felt that, I know some people will say Boston forced LeBron to create a super team, but I think Kobe played even a bigger role than Boston did. But you can say how Boston played a role in this. So here's what I'm going to say. You look at Kobe's success during that time period from 2008 to 2010, that caused a lot of bitterness for LeBron because he saw how the media praised Kobe and slurped Kobe, but they came after him hard. They would go after him hard for losing to the Celtics in 2008. Despite that not being his fault, he actually had more success against that Celtics team in 08 than Kobe did. Despite having a less talented roster, those Cavs teams were definitely inferior to those Laker teams Kobe had with Gasol, but people kept on saying Kobe was better than LeBron, which I never believed at the time was true. I felt back then, I still feel today, that Kobe had a better team than LeBron. You switch Kobe on those Cavs teams, and they wouldn't have been as successful even in the East because LeBron was a more talented player. Kobe in Cleveland would not have gotten past the Pistons like LeBron was able to get past them in 07, or give them even a series in 06. I don't believe so. I think he would have easily been taken down with that Cavaliers team. He would not have gone to the finals, I believe, just in 07 if you switched LeBron with Kobe. Just LeBron was better. But now people were saying Kobe was better. Whereas from that stretch from 04 to 08, I believe LeBron was a better player. Just he was better than Kobe. Just he had already leapfrogged Kobe in my eyes, but people suddenly changed the narrative. The moment Gasol came, people were just like, Kobe's better, and they gave Kobe everything. And LeBron dealt with harsh criticism whenever he lost to the Celtics. And yeah, that was. But despite not having a good enough team to compete, granted, you can say that 2010 series he deserved the blame. You could definitely say that, but if you look at it just overall, just he was catching a lot of heat, losing to teams that Kobe was beating, but Kobe had superior talent. Like even Orlando, that Orlando Magic team that he lost to in 09, his Cavs team was not as good. They just weren't as good. They overachieved with LeBron, but LeBron's second best player on that Cavs team was Mo Williams, and his third best player was trying to remember it, Big Z. That was his third best player. The rest of that team was really trash. If you look back on it, they weren't that good. And then you look at Kobe's Lakers during that time period. Mo Williams would not have been even the second best player on that team. I would say he wouldn't be even the third best player on that team because I would take Lamar Odom over Mo Williams. And then I would possibly take even Bynum over Mo Williams. So that would make him probably like the fifth best player on that Lakers team. So Kobe had a lot of help, and he was getting praise, and he was getting adulation for it. And I'm sure that made LeBron jealous big time. It made Wade jealous big time. And they were just thinking like, well, hey, if he's going to get all this praise and adulation despite having a stacked team and the media doesn't care, well, let's stack it in our favor. And I believe that's really what happened. That they're just like, fuck it. This is bullshit. We're not getting the respect that we deserve. But this guy who everybody hated back around 2004 up until 08 is now getting slurped on. He's getting all this praise. And we're just as good as this guy, if not better. But he's getting all this praise for having a stacked team. So let's stack the deck in our favor and play this game. Obviously, they got a lot of hate for doing it. But I think anybody who's objective would say LeBron's better than Kobe, to be honest. I don't like either of them. I'm just being truthful. I'm not a fan of either of these guys. I think both these guys have terrible personalities. Kobe was a sociopath. LeBron was a narcissist. I know some people are going to yell at me and say, like, hey, how can you be a pseudo-psychologist here? You're not a doctor. And I'm just basing it off of my observations and all the things I've read. If you read up on the definition of a narcissist, LeBron definitely fits it. If you read up on the definition of a sociopath, Kobe definitely fits the definition. So they both had toxic personalities. I'm not a fan of either, but it was pretty obvious that LeBron was the better player, but Kobe got all the praise, and I think that jealousy definitely played a role in it, and that caused him to create that super team with Wade. Both of those guys definitely decided to take action in their own hands, and they did it. So, but I think they made the miscalculation of not knowing that Kobe had a better narrative in the sense that he stayed with the Lakers. So the media was always going to turn a blind eye to the times when he tried to force his way out of there, and all the other stuff that he had done with Shaq and whatnot, as long as he could win. And they didn't care how he did it, even though he also had the deck stacked in his favor with that bullshit Gasol trade, which was totally unfair. Just so I think they didn't realize that story looked better because it's all about perception. I feel everything really comes down to perception to a large degree, and the perception of LeBron was he was a traitor, he was a backstabber in Cleveland. He left this small town that cared about him to run off to this horrible place in Miami that's basically LA Junior in the East, just an immoral place with these big city people. And just the way he did the decision, it played a role in everything. So I think that was the biggest miscalculation that LeBron made. Just it was a terrible miscalculation on marketing and perception that turned people against him. But that really was a huge reason why he went to Miami. He wanted to stack the deck in his favor and get quick championships, much like Kobe was able to stack the deck in his favor in LA, but he didn't have to leave. He was able to force it for another angle through a bullshit trade and getting Gasol. I don't think either way is honorable in any way, but it is legal, so that it is what it is. So that's what I think really happened. Really was that LeBron and Wade, they saw Kobe's success, and this is true with anybody. Just you see someone who's a little bit older, and you see how they achieve the success, and then you ask yourself, can I replicate this? Can I do what he did? Well, I'm going to copy him. Granted, I can't copy him 100%, but I'm going to copy him to a large degree and use the same strategy so I can become successful. And they basically did copy Kobe's strategy to some degree. They stacked the deck in their favor. They just couldn't stay. Well, LeBron couldn't stay on his own team. Him and Chris had to go to Miami. Wade kind of, from his angle, stacked it in his favor because he got to stay in Miami. But that's the way I look at it. Kobe definitely cost LeBron to create a super team. And with that being said, you could say Wade's reputation took the biggest hit. I do agree with him on Scap. I do agree with Scap on that. But LeBron still ended up getting what he wanted in a sense. He is ranked higher than Kobe. I don't have Kobe ever being ranked as high as LeBron. Just you look at LeBron's impact on the game. That's the way I look at it. So I think LeBron ultimately won that. He wanted to be ranked higher than Kobe. Granted, I think his ultimate goal was to be ranked higher than Michael Jordan. I don't see that ever happening. I know some people will argue it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Bearing some luck in the next few years that he wins a few more titles, which is unlikely. So I just wanted to go on this long ass rant about this. Just felt like just talking about it. I don't have anything else to say. If you sat through my video, props to you guys. Just kudos to you. And that's all I have to say.